The coastal town of Mombasa buzzed with the usual evening activity. The scent of cloves, cinnamon, and cardamom drifted through the humid air, carried by the sea breeze from the nearby spice market. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the whitewashed walls of the old town, where narrow alleys twisted like a labyrinth, each turn a potential hiding place for secrets. Asha, the daughter of the most prominent spice merchant in Mombasa, walked hurriedly through these winding streets. Her father, Hossein, had built a thriving business from nothing, and their family was well respected throughout the region. But tonight, as she clutched a small, intricately carved wooden box to her chest, Asha's thoughts were consumed not by her father's success, but by the fear that had shadowed her for weeks. 3 days ago, Asha had overheard a conversation that was never meant for her ears. She had been in her father's office, tucked away behind the heavy curtains, when 2 men entered. Their voices were low and sinister, laced with a menace that made Asha's blood run cold. They spoke of a deal, one that involved her father's business but went far beyond spices. "We need to secure the shipment," one of the men had said, his voice rough like gravel. "It's not just spices this time. If Hossein doesn't cooperate, we'll make sure he regrets it." The other man had laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "He has a daughter, doesn't he? That should be incentive enough." Asha had felt her heart hammering in her chest as she pressed herself further into the shadows. She knew better than to reveal her presence, but her mind raced. What were they planning? And how did it involve her? When the men left, Asha had slipped out of the office, unnoticed. Her father, Hossein, was unaware that she had been there, and she decided not to tell him what she had heard. She feared that doing so would only bring more danger to their doorstep. But the fear did not abate. The more she thought about the conversation, the more convinced she became that the danger was imminent. It was then that she decided to act. Now, 3 days later, Asha found herself standing outside the door of an old friend, Malik, who had once worked for her father. He had left the spice trade years ago, but Asha remembered him as a man of wisdom and courage. She needed his help. The door creaked open, revealing Malik's weathered face. His eyes softened when he saw Asha, but the lines of concern deepened around them. "Asha, what brings you here at this hour?" Malik asked, stepping aside to let her in. She entered, her gaze darting nervously around the small room. It was sparsely furnished, with a single oil lamp casting flickering shadows on the walls. She hesitated for a moment, then placed the wooden box on the table. "I need your help, Malik," Asha said, her voice trembling. "I've discovered something dangerous." Malik's eyes narrowed as he looked at the box. "What is this?" Asha took a deep breath. "I overheard 2 men talking in my father's office. They were planning something involving a shipment. But they mentioned more than spices. They threatened my father, said they'd use me against him." Malik's expression darkened as he listened. "This is serious, Asha. What's in the box?" She opened it slowly, revealing a small vial of clear liquid nestled among packets of saffron and star anise. Malik's eyes widened as he recognized the substance. "Poison," he whispered. "This is no ordinary trade, Asha. Your father may be caught up in something far more dangerous than he realizes." Asha's heart sank. "I don't know what to do, Malik. I can't tell my father, I'm afraid it will only make things worse." Malik pondered for a moment, then nodded decisively. "We must act quickly. If they are planning to use this against your father, we need to find out who they are and what they want." Asha agreed, and together they devised a plan. Malik would investigate the men who had threatened her father, while Asha would return home and try to gather more information. They decided to meet again the following night. As Asha left Malik's home, she felt a sense of urgency and dread settle over her. The streets of Mombasa were quiet now, the market stalls closed, and the only sound was the distant crash of waves against the shore. She hurried back to her father's house, clutching the box tightly. When she arrived, she found her father in his study, poring over trade ledgers. Hassan looked up as she entered, a smile softening his stern features. "Osha, where have you been?" he asked, his voice warm but tinged with concern. I went to visit Malik," she replied, trying to keep her tone light. "I needed some fresh air." Hassan nodded, satisfied with her answer, and returned to his work. Osha slipped the box into her room, hiding it beneath a loose floorboard. She knew that she couldn't keep it hidden forever, but for now, it was safe. The next day passed in a blur of anxiety. Osha tried to go about her usual tasks, but her mind was elsewhere. She was counting down the hours until she could meet Malik again, hoping that he had uncovered something that could help them. That night, as the moon hung low over the Indian Ocean, Osha made her way back to Malik's home. But when she arrived, the door was ajar, and the house was dark. Her heart pounded in her chest as she pushed the door open. The room was in disarray, the table overturned, and the lamp shattered on the floor. There was no sign of Malik. "Osha," a weak voice croaked from the shadows. She spun around, her breath catching in her throat. Malik was slumped against the wall, blood seeping from a wound in his side. Osha rushed to his side, tears welling in her eyes. "Malik, what happened?" she cried, trying to stem the flow of blood with her hands. They found out," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "The men. They're part of a smuggling ring. They're after something valuable, hidden in your father's shipments." Osha's mind raced. "What do they want? What can I do?" Malik struggled to speak, his breathing labored. "You must stop them before they reach your father. They'll kill him if he refuses, and take you as leverage." Osha's tears fell freely now, but she knew she couldn't give in to despair. Malik was fading fast, but she needed him to hold on a little longer. "Where can I find them?" she asked urgently. Malik's eyes fluttered shut, and for a moment, Osha feared he was gone. But then he forced them open one last time, summoning all his strength. "The docks. Midnight," he rasped, before his body went limp in her arms. Osha sobbed quietly, clutching Malik's lifeless form. But she knew she had to act quickly. She gently laid him down, closed his eyes, and whispered a prayer for his soul. With her heart heavy, Osha left Malik's home and made her way to the docks. The night was eerily quiet, and the streets were deserted. When she reached the docks, she saw a group of men loading crates onto a ship. Among them was the man with the gravelly voice she had overheard in her father's office. She stayed in the shadows, watching as they walked. Her mind raced, trying to figure out a way to stop them. She didn't have much time. Suddenly, an idea formed in her mind. It was risky, but it was the only chance she had. Quietly, she crept toward the ship, slipping on board unnoticed. She found the crate that the men seemed most concerned with and carefully opened it. Inside, she found more vials of the same clear liquid, poison. She knew what she had to do. She took one of the vials and poured its contents into the ship's water supply, ensuring that the men wouldn't suspect anything until it was too late. As she slipped back into the shadows, she prayed that her plan would work. She watched as the men finished loading the ship and prepared to set sail. She knew that she couldn't leave until she was sure they were gone. The minutes ticked by slowly, and Osha's heart raced with anticipation. Finally, the ship's engines roared to life, and the vessel began to pull away from the dock. She stayed hidden until the ship was nothing more than a speck on the horizon. Only then did she allow herself to breathe a sigh of relief. But as she turned to leave, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Well done, Osha." She spun around to find the man with the gravelly voice standing there, a sinister smile on his face. "You think you've won, but this is far from over," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "We'll be back for you and your father." Before she could react, he melted into the shadows, disappearing into the night. Asha knew that the danger was far from over, but she also knew that she had won this battle. She would have to be vigilant, but she was determined to protect her father and her family's legacy, no matter the cost. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video. Kindly subscribe, like and leave a comment below. Click on the bell icon to get a notification from us when next we post. Bye.